Stop scrolling, because what you're about to hear is something most people completely missed. An Attorney General of the United States refused to answer one simple constitutional question, not dodging, not confused, but outright refusing. And the question was explosive. If a sitting president takes $10 billion from his own government, is that even constitutional? What unfolded next inside that hearing room wasn't just political drama. It hinted at something much deeper, something that could shake the foundations of how power is held accountable. By the end of this video, you'll understand why many are calling this moment a potential constitutional crisis. During a tense congressional hearing, Jamie Raskin confronted Pam Bondi over a series of direct questions that should have had clear legal answers. But instead of clarity, there was deflection. Bondi repeatedly avoided answering, drifting into unrelated topics, reading statistics, and ignoring the structure of the hearing itself. It became so unusual that Raskin had to pause everything and explain the basic rules of congressional questioning, like a civics lesson. When a question is asked, you answer it. If you go off topic, time is reclaimed, and you must stop speaking. That moment alone raised eyebrows, but it was what came before it that truly stunned the room. Raskin had asked a question rooted in the Constitution, specifically the Domestic Emoluments Clause, which limits a president to receiving only their official salary from the federal government while in office. The issue arose because Donald Trump is reportedly suing the IRS for $10 billion over leaked tax returns. The legal question was simple but devastating. If the president were to win that money from a government agency ultimately under his own executive authority, would that violate the Constitution? Bondi's response was not a legal explanation, not even a partial answer. She simply said she would not discuss pending litigation. But the refusal itself raised more questions than answers. And then things escalated. Raskin drew a powerful comparison that made the silence even louder. If a president can claim billions for what he describes as embarrassment over leaked tax returns, then what about the victims of far more serious violations? Specifically, survivors connected to the Jeffrey Epstein case, whose personal information, names, phone numbers, even addresses, was reportedly exposed in government-released documents. Some of these individuals were named hundreds of times. The risk wasn't theoretical. Some reportedly began receiving threats. Raskin asked a simple moral and legal question. If one kind of harm is worth billions, what is the value of this kind of damage? Once again, Bondi did not answer. Instead, she deflected. She shifted the topic, made personal remarks, and even accused Raskin of political bias. The hearing began to unravel into interruptions and tension, with attempts to regain control from the chair. At one point, Raskin had to formally request his time back, emphasizing the breakdown in basic procedure. When he resumed, his tone sharpened, not with anger, but with clarity. He restated the rules again, firmly. Questions are to be answered, not avoided. It was a rare moment where process itself became the story. But underneath the procedural clash was a deeper issue: accountability. The Attorney General is the nation's top law enforcement official, someone expected to provide legal clarity, especially on constitutional matters. Yet here, when asked directly whether a president receiving billions from his own government could violate the Constitution, there was no answer. And sometimes, as observers noted, the refusal to answer becomes an answer in itself. By the end of the exchange, 3 critical questions remained unresolved: whether the president's lawsuit raises constitutional concerns, how justice should be measured across different kinds of harm, and whether meaningful action would be taken to investigate serious violations affecting vulnerable individuals. None of them received a direct response. And that's what makes this moment so significant. Not just what was said, but what wasn't.